As a man, when you're in your 20s, this is a time period of self-growth, learning about yourself, and also a lot of self-improvement. Me personally, I just turned 28 years old, and looking back in my 20s, I've realized that I've done a lot of things right. Now, the things that I have done right has a lot to do with the woman I chose to be in my life. And on the opposite hand, when I look at a guy who's in his 20s, not really progressing well, there's always one common trend that I tend to realize is that the woman that they keep and decide to put within their lives really hold them back from their true potential. And that's why I'm making this video, because I don't want you guys to be in your 20s making those mistakes, because trust me, it can definitely set you down a bad path, and that is not my goal for any of you, all right? So stay tuned. These are the top women you should definitely avoid dating in your 20s. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So we have definitely heard about women's hypergamous nature, meaning that they tend to do and date whatever is up, whatever is better than them, right? In terms of finances, social class, and for that reason, what do women care about? A man's future. So that's why our finances matter. That's why kind of our position in life matters a lot, our overall ambition. But here's where guys kind of get it wrong. It's the fact that us men can be hypergamous too. And what I mean by that specifically is that we need to start caring about a woman's future also, especially while we're in our early 20s. So with that being said, the first woman you should avoid dating is a woman who has absolutely no future about herself. I don't care what these other guys say in terms of how guys would date a McDonald's worker or how we don't care about a woman's status and career. But I'm telling you, if you're on a progression of yourself in terms of your own career, your own self-improvement, you definitely want to be with a woman who has some sort of vision for herself too. And I've learned this through my own endeavors of dealing with women. I've dated women who are very career driven. I've dated women who really don't have a lot going for themselves. And I've dated that perfect in between, to where they're not totally super codependent, but at the same time, they still got their stuff going on. They might be in school. They may be trying to get a career in some sort of field that they're passionate about. So the point is that you want to date women who actually have futures about themselves. And if you're just dating her for her looks and beauty alone and that's it, then that tells me that you're kind of thinking in a short-term mindset, and that's going to be a short-term relationship. Honestly, any woman that I decide to take seriously long-term, especially in my 20s, best believe they're educated, they have something going about themselves that really makes them stand out. Me personally, I'm not dating a McDonald's worker long-term. Not happening. Woman number two that you should avoid dating in your 20s is the woman with bad habits. To be fair, some of this stuff you should avoid dating a woman in general. It doesn't matter if you're in your 20s and 30s. But the reason why I emphasize 20s so much is because, like I said in the intro, this is a time period of self-development, self-growth, learning yourself. So if you deal with these women that I'm currently talking about, then it's really going to, once again, set you on a path of destruction. So just keep that in mind. But the woman with bad habits, think of the woman with alcohol problems, the woman who loves to party a lot, loves to be in the scene, the woman who stays up all night. Just overall, her habits really don't align with yours. Hopefully you guys watching this channel are all on a new goal, a self quest for 2024. You listed out your goals, the things you want to do. You got systems and routines in place that you're actually working towards on a consistent basis. So the woman you decide to keep in your life must either support that or to some degree be in line with that. Because here's what I realized too, you could actually take a woman with bad habits, and if she sees your good habits, given that she actually likes you, her habits will actually start to change over time, and she'll start to more conform to the good and positive things that she sees that you're doing within your life. But if she sees the good things that you're doing and she still decides not to change, then overall that's going to lead to a toxic future for yourself, and then her bad habits are inevitably going to rub off on you, thus once again not progressing you but actually regressing you. And let's keep it real, guys, relationships in the early 20s rarely, if ever, work out long term. So I'm talking if you're like 20, 21, 22, 23, I guarantee you, and I don't mean to sound like a pessimist, but you're probably not going to be with that woman in the next 5 to 10 years, more than likely, statistically. So with that being said, why would you keep a woman around that could regress you, that's still not going to be with you in the long-term future? Like, it really makes no sense, right? So don't allow her bad habits to rub off on you. And if she does have bad habits and you still want to keep her around, then business meetings only, my friend. And that's where you guys got to decipher too, like who's cuffable and who is not cuffable. Women with overall bad habits are not cuffable. have fun with them, but don't allow them to be within your life for an extended period of time. So earlier in the video, I talked about codependency and how you don't want a woman who's like super dependent, but at the same time, you also don't want a woman who's like really, really independent. There has to be like a really good middle ground. So that dependency is another word for clingy. Another woman you want to avoid dating in your 20s is somebody who is just insanely clingy. Now, depending on how much a woman is like you, depending on her attachment style, if you guys have ever gotten into that, different women are going to act in different ways. I've met women who are like very clingy. I've also met women who are like kind of like independent but they're like available whenever I want them to be available. So once again, there has to be a perfect balance, but you can't deal with insanely clingy. I'm talking about this girl is calling you all the time, always wants to talk on the phone with you, always wants to know your whereabouts, always wants to spend time with you at every waking moment, because what you will do, and trust me, even the guys who say they won't do this will still do this, is actually start to spend more time with the girl than actually spending more time on their purpose. I see it all the time, right? It's so subtle, it happens so slowly too. Whereas before you would have been working on your business, maybe going to the gym, doing something productive that'll actually benefit yourself, you decide to spend time with her because she wanted to see you, or maybe she has something else planned, right? It's these little things that actually add up over time. Then when you think of this on a long-term basis, like 2 to 3 years, holistically, look at all the times that you actually spend time with her because of her clinginess versus the time you could have been working on yourself. But point is, guys, clingy woman, just in your 20s especially, try to avoid them, and you will know early signs of it, right? Especially these very, very clingy women. The signs of the clinginess actually start to show really, really fast. I'm talking like first, second date, you can tell. FaceTiming all the time, calling all the time, it just never seems to end. But as a man in your 20s, definitely avoid it, trust me. Now, the last woman you want to avoid in your 20s is the toxic woman. The woman who loves chaos, who loves emotional turmoil. Now, let's be real here. Most women need and want that subconsciously. They don't even realize that they like that. But for a woman to actually seek it out and crave it, that's a different story. As a man, when you're with a woman long-term, you're probably gonna induce some turmoil here and there, either purposely or non-purposely. But like I said, if she like craves it and looks for it and starts drama, arguments out of nowhere just for her own dopamine hit, then that's definitely a red flag, and that's somebody who you don't want to be with in your 20s. I've seen plenty of times where guys could not work on themselves, could not work on their business, could not work on their purpose because they're too emotionally involved with the woman that they're talking to in the moment. Like the woman has them so caught up in their emotions. He's trying to figure out what she's doing. They're starting arguments, always on the phone, talking back and forth. Like there's never a peaceful time in the relationship, but at the same time, they still decide to stay together. And like I said, I've seen this countless of times where that has inevitably not only led to a breakup, but led to a regression in that man's life. So if you're dealing with toxic, emotionally unstable, crazy women who need that, definitely dump them, or business meetings only, once again, guys. Now, I know dealing with these women and finding women who don't have this, especially in your 20s, is gonna be very, very hard to find. Trust me, I know. I've been on dating apps, I've been on hundreds of dates, I've met hundreds of women, and the percentage of women who actually have these things that are huge red flags as a guy in your 20s is very, very high. Like literally probably 70 to 80% of the women you will meet will have some of these red flags. And that's why as a man in your 20s too, it's good for you to just date around, because eventually, given that you continue to make yourself more attractive, given that you continue to progress in your own life, inevitably you're gonna come across a woman who actually doesn't have these, who has green flags, who is a diamond in the rough, so to speak. And from there, you can actually start taking her seriously if you want to, but that's gonna take some time, and that's very, very rare in this day and age, all right? So share this video with somebody who is in their 20s, who is in a bad relationship right now, and definitely avoid the woman that I also spoken about. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Peace.